Hello, this is going to be the generalized energies for the week of July 19th all the way to the 25th. So this is a Sunday through Saturday, and kind of just giving you an idea of what to expect energetically during this week. So let's recap really quickly on what happened last week, energetically, what we could have experienced. On Wednesday, July 15th, Gemini finally got to where it was exact degree with Neptune. So it was sextiling Neptune and directly trining Pluto as well. And then on the 18th, Jupiter moved into that 4-degree mark in Leo. And so we had the complete basket formation. So we've been talking about this basket formation for months now, even over a year. And this is intense changes, but it doesn't mean that everything happens right away. You know, like there can be something in your life that has a ripple effect over time, and it is a monumental change, but we might not see like drastic things overnight, even in your life and the collective. But just know that the choices that you're making right now will be affecting the trajectory in which you are taking your life. So there's lots of things that are shifting, and it could be in lots of areas of your life. And just remember that the things that are moving into place this week and last week, and holding kind of until the end of July, these were not options at the beginning of this year. The energies it wasn't time. And so just remember the timing for the things that are occurring right now, it's just divine. We are moving into different signs with the nodes of fate. We are having some release points with Virgo themes of our lives. So there's lots of different things that are playing out timing wise. This is not something that you can miss out on. Like a lot of people are like, I'm scared I'm gonna miss the window of opportunity. What's happening is that we're shifting. Now we're giving options. We are always given options on the paths that we choose. A lot of people think when we say certain things are happening with certain signs, it's like, and we say it's fated, we say it's without free will, and that's not the case. You're not forced into a configuration, or you're not forced down a path. You're always given an option. And so with these options, you're choosing like lower vibrations, or staying in a karmic loop, or ascending to a higher timeline. And when you ascend to a higher timeline, sometimes what that means is you're actually like understanding old patterns, and you're shifting out of them. So I feel like a lot of the things and changes that are happening this week, it's kind of like you're realizing old patterns. This could be thought patterns because Mercury is still in retrograde. Again, old beliefs of yourself because Neptune is in retrograde. It's really introspecting on your beliefs of how you believe, what you believe is true for you, and what you feel like you can actually accomplish. And then it could even be the way that you're uniquely expressing yourself for the first time, like the feelings that you have around that expression, this new expression of yourself, and possibly old versions of yourself that doesn't really match that expression, and maybe the changes that we're making around this. There's a lot of new that's coming up, and a lot of options, and we will be given opportunities to step into this new unique version of ourselves unapologetically. And I will just say, the more you lean into the weird, especially with Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini, I feel like Uranus will bless it and make it wild, like in the best ways, and Pluto will transform it and make it somewhat powerful in your life. So I encourage you to embrace these new changes that you're going to see come about with bold, fresh new starts. Because as Jupiter is in Leo and it is opposing Pluto, Pluto is burning away all these old versions of self, because Pluto wants you to be seen in this new limelight as this new unique desire, having these new unique desires that and wants to burn away any way that you have been seen in the past. Like, Pluto doesn't want you to be known for these old versions, because you have this unique limelight that you need to step out onto the stage with. That this is kind of what the energies of this basket feels like. It feels like there's a lot of wild new dreams that almost you can't believe, because it's not been available previously. This is not things that you have considered, because it's not even been available to grasp. And so you're going to be walking into these new opportunities that have not been available before, with fresh eyes and new perspective and almost a new boldness that's ready to take the stage as this new version of you. So this is kind of what this basket feels like. This is kind of what the end of all the rest of July is going to feel like. We have this cradle until August 15th, and then Jupiter starts to pull away. So you're going to be feeling this for the next month and a half, probably very strongly. This is definitely going to be affecting like how people are seeing you differently. I feel like it's going to be reflected on other people's perceptions on how you've been seen previously and what people are thinking now. So the tensions that we get throughout this week with the moon. So remember, the moon is divinely timed. It stays like 2 days in each sign, and it cycles every 28 days. It's already making round. So every month we are going to be making many aspects to this basket, to this minor grand trine. So working with the moon will show you kind of how this process is moving along, how we are being kind of like up-leveled in some way, how we are continuing to touch these topics in a different way, but in a higher part of that ascension journey, and how it's up-leveling us to the next spot, the next space. It's continuing to move. The moon always moves forward. It never moves retrograde. So it's going to continue to ascend us in that spiral every time it makes a pass. There's like new downloads. Every time it makes a pass, there's new up-level opportunities. Everyone has free will. Everyone can choose their path. You're not being forced in any direction. You get to choose. But when you choose an old karmic loop or an old thought pattern that you're not getting out of, or an old version of self that is draining your energy, over time you're going to see this present itself in different ways, even in the body. And I know this from experience, that like when you stay in old karmic patterns, because of other people's perceptions, or because of old belief patterns, or because of old religious dogma, or whatever it is the case for you, when you stay stuck in these old patterns of self and not ascend up, what you're doing is you are creating a stronghold in past versions of yourself. You're not letting yourself ascend and letting go and stepping out with new faith that the universe has you. That there's going to be something just put down right in front of your foot when you step off in faith and you leave behind old patterns of self. The universe will support you every step of the way. You won't fall. You're not falling to this like detriment. When you're leaving behind old toxic patterns, you will be supported by the universe. You will be surprised on what shows up for you. But you can't have anything show up when you're holding on to something from the old, because you don't have any energy for the new. You have to release the old, free up some energy so the new can come in and can fill those voids. You're not going to see doors open. You're not going to see opportunities. You're not going to see these new versions of yourself shine until you absolutely leave what's not meant for you, what's past, what's overdue, what's tossed out. I am sorry I went into that so deeply. But this is kind of what happens this week. You know, this is the energies of this week with this basket. It is a release of old versions, and we might have these versions in up to 8 different areas of your chart, because Leo is Jupiter is in Leo, and we have still Cancer energies that we're dispersing. We have Gemini energies with Mars and Uranus. We have the Aries energies with Saturn and Neptune. The Aquarian energies. We have the nodes of fate and Pisces and Virgo that's fixing to change signs. We have a lot of different things that are going on in our chart, and it's telling us that these are times for new beginnings, and they're activating them that way. So let's look at Sunday, July 19th. So Sunday, July 19th, we're in that cradle. And what is very unique about this cradle here is where the moon has placed itself on July 19th. So the moon is in Libra, and this is a very supportive moon. It likes balance, it likes justice, it likes relationships. It wants to be in close relationship and in harmony with others. And this moon, it looks like it's shining a light into the cradle. Almost like it's giving it its blessing. It's pouring out some type of harmonious balance in an emotionally balanced way. Okay, so this is like emotionally balancing while supporting the contents of this cradle. And so I'll actually show you. I know y'all hate these charts, but it looks like the moon is over here, and looks like it's shining a beacon into this cradle, and it almost looks like it's pouring into it. The moon is actually sextiling Jupiter. It is trining Uranus. It's opposing Neptune, and it's trining Jupiter. So there is a lot of new that's being shifted upon us, and emotionally we want balance, we want justice, we want what's right to come about all this. So this ego death that we experience, the way that we need to be presented on the stage as a new person, in a new light, in a new limelight, is being emotionally supported by the moon on Sunday. Sunday, you have really good vibes on this new version of self, or even like a harmonious release of old. It's almost like it almost feels like there's just harmonious support around this new version of self. And the moon is also trining Uranus and Pluto. So in this regard, this could be like emotional support around this new change. Libra likes balance, and Gemini is chaotic and so not in balance. You know what I mean? But there is something about this new change that is supporting the the reciprocal stuff. You know what I mean? Reciprocities in relationships. There's something around this new change that is supporting reciprocities and relationships, that give take balance. That the moon is really supporting. That feels supportive. That feels emotionally equivalent. And Pluto is revealing these new versions. It's pulling away the old. It's revealing old patterns, old outdated timelines that we can reminisce about, but it needs to leave because it's time for transformation. Like Pluto's waiting behind the curtain with the new costume change for Jupiter and Leo. Like, I have your new outfit. This is your new transformation outfit. And the moon loves the outfit. The moon is very harmoniously supporting these new timeline leaps, is what it is. It's a transformative timeline leap. Now remember, Pluto can be two things, bro. It can be multiple things. It can be death of old self. So this can come with a willingness, or it can come with a complete death of a past version in a harder, harsher way. And so we're giving these opportunities to upgrade in these harmonious ways. But, like I said before, we all have choices. So just remember, Pluto is transformation. Something has to leave for that transformation to happen. With the moon opposing Neptune, this is idolization of relationships. An idolization of relationships with women, mother. An idolization with emotions that you're not really addressing or naming. Like, there's an emotions, you feel it, but you're not even you're not distinctly directing where that emotion is going. So there's some type of disconnect or delusion around what you're actually feeling and what you're putting that feeling to. So, with this change, you can have a lot of feelings around this. There's a lot of internalized dialogue that's going on here, and with Mercury and retrograde still until Thursday this week. So here we are with this moon feeling feelings, but maybe not actually putting a time and place on it. So this is important to just note that you're going to be still in this internal dialogue. And as we start this week, and even throughout this week into next week, Saturn is squaring Mercury in retrograde. So there are still some lessons that need to be learned around communication, some boundaries that need to be put in place for yourself around thought processes or thought patterns. This could be this could be you taking responsibility on your communication. These are topics that we discussed last week, but they're following us into this week. In the Cancer realms of your world, this could be relationships. This could be nourishment, how you're nourishing yourself, how you're nourishing yourself with your mindset. Is your mindset giving life, nourishing you? Are you getting caught up in old karmic patterns and loops? That's Saturn. Saturn is karmic. And if you have this tension, you could be cycling in karmic loop patterns that you are meant to see with Mercury retrograde, introspectively feel in that uncomfortable positioning and then shift out of it to ascend to a more nourishing way of your mind working, internally and outwardly. We still have Saturn here sextiling Mars. So Mars is putting this change in initiative in action. Mars is in Gemini, remember, is very chaotic with its energy. He's very unpredictable, not consistent. Feel like you have a lot of energy and you're ready to go, and then the next day you're spent right when you wake up for no reason. But we're still having that build harmony with Saturn supporting this build. Maybe there again is an authoritative figure that is coaching you along, that is helping you along in this process. A lot of these energies are going to carry over day over day. And so on Monday, basically the only new aspects is going to be that the moon is shifting. Okay, so all the other things are kind of taking place throughout the week. So the moon is trining Mercury. No, that is not a trine. 1, 2, 3. That's a square. The moon is squaring Mercury retrograde. As Mercury retrograde is squaring Saturn in Aries. So this looks emotionally like you are taking into account the information that Mercury has learned in this retrograde journey. You're emotionally taking into account the discipline that Saturn is asking for. You're taking into account emotionally how you've been talking to yourself and your internal dialogue. So all the messages that Mercury has gathered, every time it aspects a planet on its retrograde journey and then back through its shadow, it's going to check in with these planets and say, this is what I learned. This is the update. And so Mercury retrograde is updating the moon. And maybe telling it about the new boundaries it has in its mind. Like this isn't, emotionally, this isn't balancing for us. Because the moon is still in Libra here. This isn't right. I don't feel like this is reciprocal. This isn't being reciprocated. I'm giving this communication this way, but the communication is not being reciprocated back to me. So this might not just be boundaries on self, but this might be boundaries in relationships where you're not seeing that reciprocal communication. And Saturn is putting a boundary on yourself, on your person, saying, look, this isn't good for you. This is hurting your heart. So this is very, almost like an internal dialogue, but it could mean with others. On Tuesday, we have this, the moon moving into Scorpio. This is going to be very intense emotions between people and those in power. And I say that because when the moon moves into Scorpio, it's going to be squaring Leo and Aquarius placements. So it's almost at an immediate square to Jupiter in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius. And this is like almost like acknowledging the power struggle between the people and the leaders in power. Aquarius is the people, and Leo is the stage. This also could be emotions around your unique self, your new costume, and the way people have seen you in the past, your old stage. Remember your costume's on the way. So there is a really interesting configuration with the moon on Tuesday. So the moon is not only squaring Pluto in Aquarius and Jupiter in Leo, but it's also trining and sextiling the nodes of fate. So it is in great harmony with how we are releasing, what we're letting go of. Old ways that we are critically keeping ourselves in this logical mindset and flowing harmoniously towards expanding our intuition and expanding how we are in our body, how we acknowledge our body, how we are acknowledging our body and our decisions, how we're really feeling about certain things, and then being truthful about that. So the moon is harmoniously working with the nodes of fate, with that release point and the point in which we're activating at a more deeper soul level. The moon is opposing Chiron in Taurus, and this could mean there is some emotions around these new values, because if this old self is leaving, you might have to shift a couple of things, like values. You might be leaving, I know that this is going to sound crazy, but you might be leaving an old version of yourself, an old way, an old job, an old relationship, an old mindset that is keeping you. It might have guaranteed you some type of monetary value, but it was keeping you in past versions of yourself that was keeping you small, even though it looks like it's larger. We can't always see what's coming. And so we might have to have a shift in values right now. Just at this time for understanding that we can't always sit in the same. It doesn't always ascend us even. So our values, and I always feel like a consumer mindset. Like I feel like Taurus, Chiron going through Taurus is going to get us out of that consumer mindset and really focus on what is meaningful. What is meaningful in this part of your life and what truly is something that you value. So as the moon opposes this might be a push-pull, and but I really thought I valued that. This is one of my possessions that I really, really cannot live without. So there might be some type of push-pull, some intense emotions between past versions of self and this new stage that you're setting, and step out with bravery. Leo loves bravery. The more that you can really incorporate these archetypes in your life and in your energetics, the more you can actually intentionally step into this new version of yourself authentically with such power when you're using these archetypes of these signs and planets. Okay, so Chiron and Taurus is actually in harmonious sextile, just like the moon is with these nodes of fate. So these new changes, the letting go of these Virgo themes and then feeding into this Piscean North Node is definitely working with Chiron and Taurus, and it will be working with Chiron and Taurus until, goodness, let me see where, I can't remember where the nodes of fate shift. Maybe at the end of August is when the nodes shift. I know I wrote it down, but I can't find my nodes of fate note. Well, we'll find it later. So that is one of the aspects that will be shifting on Tuesday. Tuesday, we also have this new aspect that is going to be applying over the rest of the week, and it is Venus in Virgo that is squaring Mars and Gemini. Now, remember, Venus in Virgo is pretty critical. She is definitely keeping notes, and she has a list of all the things that this Mars and Virgo can improve. He's too sloppy. He's not consistent. He's multitasking way too many things. Venus has a lot to say about this, and Venus wants perfection. Venus wants us to do our best and to succeed with bells on. And so Venus could be very critical of Mars's initiation, of Mars's drive, of Mars's energy all around. This could be power, like this can be tension in relationships. This could be a way that we're critiquing our partners. This could be definitely how we are moving in relationships with a male or a female. This also could be like a physical attraction, because when you have a Mars-Venus square, this is definitely hot and spicy. So every tension point isn't bad. So this could actually be this could be romance in spicy ways, spicy romance. So every tension might not be like a bad tension, this physical intimacy kind of tension where it's not exactly harmonious, but that tension kind of feels good and rubs against each other and like really makes a friction that almost works. So this Venus critiquing Mars actually might push Mars to go even harder, to go into his initiation with more vigor in a way, because Gemini doesn't want to be told what to do, and Virgo's like, well, you know, you could change, and Gemini doesn't want, no, Gemini, that's not on Gemini's plate at all. But this is definitely, this is going to be some type of energy that you're going to feel for the rest of the week into next week. I'm sorry. I just like stopped, just like. So let's go, and there is a T square with the moon, Taurus, Pluto, and Jupiter with this moon opposite Chiron. So there is something that looks like financially we're having to give up. It looks like there's something that is going to be emotionally brought into your mind's eye around finances there. And the way I was saying earlier, this is very important, that like how we move is very important. So we want to make sure that, because we're in these Jupiter energies, we want to make sure that we feel brave enough to take a risk. We have this motivation, even though we don't have the whole story, we might have this increased intensity to do something. And I feel like these are the energies that we would like to step into. And if we do step into these bold new versions of ourselves, we're really going to see a greater change in ourselves with this new version. Okay, on Wednesday, the moon is still in Scorpio, very intense, very powerful, very passionate, and she is sextiling Venus, as Venus is still squaring Mars. And Venus is also sextiling Mercury, who is still in retrograde until tomorrow, on Thursday, July 23rd. And the moon is trining Mercury retrograde. So there is some information that is being brought to the moon and to Venus. There's some discipline that Mercury wants to share from Saturn. These new boundaries that Mercury wants to put in place around relationships, that is going to expand our emotions. That's going to expand us at an emotional level. This is really good for relationships. This is a minor grand trine, with Venus being the head of that. And it's like she is steering us in a new direction with relationships, and the new ways that we have been reprogramming our mind to think. This is a very good aspect with relationships on Wednesday. On Thursday, Mercury goes direct, so there might be some clarity that we're given on Thursday. Something frees up, and then we're allowed to finally say it in a loving way, because we have been reprogrammed in a softer way, so we have something to say that's softer. With this new responsibility around communication, internally and outwardly. The moon moves ahead, but Mercury is still sextiling Venus, so all the new insights that Mercury is going to have once it turns direct is going to directly speak into Venus. So into relationships, into this can even be about money. This even feels like there's a new responsibility around how we think and consider our finances. A new disciplined, responsible way of considering that. I forgot to mention on Wednesday, the sun does move into Leo. This gives us a fiery, bold consciousness. So this is, the stage. It's our presentation. It's how we are outwardly for people. This is our creation. This is amplifying our heart. This is expanding all this with consciousness. So we're consciously aware of our new Leo parts of self. And so this sun in Leo wants to shine, be bold. It wants to be on stage. It's your desires. And all this is coming in on real time on Wednesday. So we're stepping into Thursday. Mercury goes direct. And as we are continuing forward the sun's path, it is conjunct Jupiter in Leo. So there is very conscious understandings of our new desires. And the sign is going to be opposed by Pluto. So something is revealed in your consciousness. Almost about like your unique self. Almost like how you are now uniquely expressing. And it's almost like you're shining a light on the old versions that need to leave. It's almost like you're being revealed what had to change, and it's in an accepting way. But like it feels like it's supporting these new ways of presenting. Like the sun is, it feels like it's shining a light on these new versions of yourself. Now, it might not feel good with Pluto opposing the sun. It might feel naked. It might feel exposed. It might feel exposed. It's like somebody turned the light on and there's almost like an announcement. Like you're being seen on stage in a whole different way. And it is, you can't hide it anymore. It's not able to be hidden. Now this is going to continue for the rest of this week, this opposition, into next week. So just be aware that revealing is happening. But if we stand in boldness, let me just give you this peace of mind, and then I'll try to wrap up. If we step out in boldness in these new versions of ourselves, instead of shrink down to old versions, if we step out in boldness with our authenticity to create this new version of ourselves. And it's time now, but it hasn't been time until now. This is the first time that we're able to do this. This is the time to shine a light on it. This is the time to step out boldly. And when we do that, we will experience things beyond our wildest dreams. This is when we are actually walking into this new cradle, this minor grand trine. This is when we're going to actually see these big changes in pivotal ways. On Friday, the moon moves into Sagittarius. It is trining Jupiter. There's a sense of belonging here. Like, you feel like you're amongst friends. So even though we're being exposed, it's almost like these new versions of yourself that you're stepping into, there is a sense of harmony around friend groups or around emotions in some type of way. But it feels like you're supported with a group. You're supported with in a belonging feeling kind of way. The moon is opposite Uranus on Friday, and it's sextiling Pluto. So whatever Pluto is revealing, this harmonious belonging sense with the moon and Jupiter is also giving a really harmonious blend with Pluto and whatever had to be revealed. It was time for that to be revealed. The timing was right. We couldn't live in darkness anymore. We couldn't live hidden. We had to be out and open. So that was very harmonious with the moon. Like, it feels like a weight has been lifted off emotionally. Like we can breathe now. It's out. It's out. The moon is opposite Uranus. So there is some push-pull with this change. Like we're getting some kind of feedback, some type of communication that is a push-pull. This could be with the other people that are not on board with this, but this also might mean things that need to leave. These are past versions. This is anybody that is that is really opposing these new changes for you. This is where you're going to see the ones that need to leave, the things that need to go, the people, the relationships. On Saturday, July 25th, the moon is still in Sagittarius, and it squares Venus in Virgo. So there is something in relationships that come up around your freedom of adventure, your emotional need for an adventure, for freedom. And Venus's list of duties. Venus's critique on how you're being too spontaneous and you need to like settle down. Maybe it's saying, hey, don't forget you got to get this done. Don't forget to take care of this. This is basically going to wrap up the week. We still have that square to Mars with Venus and the sextile to Mercury, and Mercury is direct, moving harmoniously with Venus, and they will actually move in a sextile for the rest of this week and the rest of the month, actually. That's fun. That's fun. So whatever is coming up on the moon, maybe something needs to be felt. Maybe something needs to be flushed out and acknowledged on Saturday. All right, guys, I hope you've had a great week energy rundown. I hope it hasn't been too long and lengthy, and then I'll do per house where you're going to really feel these energies. So have a great week.